Let's get started with our first news. Paddy Pimblett says he will knock Michael Chandler out. Ahead of his fight with Chandler, Paddy made it clear he's not nervous or feeling any pressure, because in his words, he knows he's going to win. Paddy is confident he will knock Chandler out. I know people are going to be saying after this to stop calling me a prospect and start calling me a contender once I win. No such thing as pressure, lad. You know what I mean? What's the point in being nervous when you know you're going to win? That's the way I look at things. This is the biggest fight of my life, but it's just a fight. You know what I mean? People put too much on it and build it up too much. Whereas for me, it's just a fight. It's just a glorified sparring session. That's all it is. Paddy continued, saying, "Feel great, you know what I mean? Never felt this good going into a fight, to be honest. Feels sharp, weight's on point. Best shape I've ever been in." I know it's very cliche, everyone always says that, but no, that's a fact. When asked how he thinks Chandler will approach the fight, Paddy responded, "He's not going to try. Well, unless he loses his marbles and tries to take me down. I don't think he's going to take me down. I think he knows I outmatch him on the floor. I can see this being a bit of a striking contest, and he thinks he's just gonna wade in and knock me out. You know what I mean? He thinks because he's fought Poirier and Charles and Gaethje, and he didn't get knocked out by them, that he won't get knocked out by ME, when I have a completely different style than them. They stood there and tried to brawl with him, you know what I mean? I come in with a game plan. I come in to do certain things in fights, and that's what I'll do to Chandler. I really can see myself knocking him out. In the past, I've never been able to stay mindful. I just bit down on the gum shield and started swinging. But I know that his fight IQ isn't the best. It's one of his worst attributes. And I've got good fight IQ. We've game planned for this fight. We've watched loads of tape, studied him. I just don't see any way I lose unless he lands a big lucky Hail Mary shot on the chin. And I'm not going to let that happen. Moving on to the second news, Michael Chandler is backing Justin Gaethje for the next lightweight title shot. The UFC lightweight division is currently in a very unique and uncertain position, with no clear front runner to challenge the reigning champion, Islam Makhachev. It's one of the most stacked divisions in the UFC, and the competition at the top is as intense as ever. Names like Chandler, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and others continue to dominate the upper rankings, each of them being former champions or previous title contenders, but none have managed to decisively claim the next shot at UFC gold. Right now, Michael Chandler is preparing for another huge matchup in the division, as he is scheduled to face Paddy Pimblett at UFC 314. This fight is gaining massive attention, especially considering the star power and personality both fighters bring to the octagon. Although Chandler has previously fallen short in his attempts to capture the UFC lightweight title, he remains a respected and experienced veteran in the sport, and instead of calling for another title shot for himself, he's now voicing support for someone else, a rather surprising contender in the eyes of many, to challenge Makhachev next. Speaking to the media ahead of UFC 314, Chandler opened up about the current state of the division and shared his thoughts on who he believes deserves the next opportunity. He said, "If I'm thinking with my heart, I want Gaethje to get a shot. You know, Gaethje being the #1 guy, and then putting that #1 ranking on the line against Max Holloway for the BMF belt, and then losing that. So he drops down a notch. Charles and I were in a #1 contender fight, but now you got Topuria coming up. You got Poirier talking about retiring. You got Islam talking about moving up to 170. You know, there's a bunch of rumblings about that in the media, and things that he himself has said." Chandler ended by saying, "So the coolest thing is just being a part of the most interesting division in the world. In a weight class full of killers, unexpected matchups, and rising stars, Chandler's perspective reflects the chaotic but exciting nature of the lightweight division. Whether or not Gaethje gets the next title shot remains to be seen, but one thing is clear, everyone's watching to see how this plays out." Next up, Justin Gaethje has officially called out Islam Makhachev to fight in June, and he's making it very clear he's ready for the challenge. In what could be a blockbuster lightweight title fight, Gaethje is not only calling for the bout, he's actively pushing for it to happen as soon as possible. His confidence is sky high, and he's letting the world know that June is the month he wants to go to war. During an interview with the Schmo, Gaethje kept it short, powerful, and direct. He said, "I'm ready to fight in June." Simple, but heavy with intent. This is not just a hopeful comment, this is a public statement to the UFC matchmakers and fans alike. Gaethje is hungry, and he wants to test himself against one of the most dominant champions in recent history, Islam Makhachev. He went on to say, "I think Islam said he wants to fight in June. I'm hoping I get that call sooner rather than later. This means the ball could already be rolling behind the scenes." Makhachev, who has been relatively quiet since his last title defense, had previously expressed interest in returning around that same time. Now that both fighters are aligning on a date, the UFC may not be far from locking this one in. Gaethje also took time to break down the current state of the division and why he believes he's the logical next contender. He said, "Oliveira already lost to Islam. Tsarukyan really messed it up. I don't think they want to give it to him. I can see them giving it to Topuria." That's a very honest assessment from Gaethje, who acknowledges the chaos at the top of the lightweight rankings. Charles Oliveira, despite his incredible record, has already been dominated by Makhachev. Arman Tsarukyan, while impressive, had a major setback in his last performance. And Ilia Topuria, though talented, isn't even fully established in the lightweight division yet. Gaethje's resume speaks for itself. War after war, bonus after bonus, and a fighting style that fans can't get enough of. He's proven time and time again that he's among the most dangerous men in the UFC, and now he's knocking on the champion's door. Whether the UFC makes this fight official or not, one thing is crystal clear. Justin Gaethje wants Islam Makhachev, and he wants him in June. Moving on, things just got heated in the bantamweight division as Petr recently called out Umar Nurmagomedov, and this one definitely sparked some interest. Jan didn't hold back when he took to Instagram to throw down a public challenge to the Dagestani fighter. In his post, Jan wrote, 5 rounds. Let's do it. My desire to fight for the belt remains. At the moment, the top 5, top 10, almost everyone is occupied, and there is no desire to wait for half a year. Umar, I hope you fixed your scratches. Let's go. That message was loud and clear. Jan wants to stay active, and he sees Umar as a worthy opponent to keep his momentum going. For fans, this was an exciting call out. A potential 5-round main event between Petr, the former bantamweight champion, and Umar Nurmagomedov, rising star with the Nurmagomedov legacy behind him. That's the kind of matchup that gets people talking, but unfortunately, it seems like the timing just isn't right. Shortly after his initial call out, Jan gave an update that took the wind out of the sails, at least for now. He said, Umar is not ready. I hope there will be a worthy challenge for June or July. So for the time being, this clash is off the table, as Jan begins looking for another opponent in the meantime. Umar Nurmagomedov didn't stay silent either. He responded with respect but honesty, clarifying his side of the situation. He said, as much as I want to, I'll only be able to fight in October. Fighting with an injured hand is stupid. I'll come back when I'm 100% healthy. That's a mature and disciplined approach from Umar, who understands that stepping into the octagon half ready could risk both his health and his undefeated record. While it's disappointing for fans who were hoping for this showdown sooner rather than later, it's clear that both fighters want it, just not right now. Petr is still hunting for a top-tier opponent to fight this summer, while Umar is focused on recovery and a strong return in the fall. Will the UFC make this matchup happen later in the year? All signs point to yes, but for now, the wait continues. One thing's for sure, Petr versus Umar Nurmagomedov is a fight that fans will be watching for. Meanwhile, Michael Chandler is giving fans and fellow fighters a peek behind the curtain with what he calls a true veteran move during fight week. As he cuts weight and prepares for battle, Chandler took a moment to share a gritty, no-nonsense meal, one that reflects his warrior mentality. He posted a video where he showed off his unique fight week meal, a cold 6-ounce New York strip steak topped with romesco sauce, straight from the fridge. Not your typical fine dining, but that's the point. Alright guys, it's meal time. Chandler began with his signature intensity. We got a cold 6 ounces, New York strip with romesco, and the tip on fight week, that's a veteran move that a lot of people aren't willing to do, is you take it cold, you dip it, and you eat it by hand. No plate, no table, no warm meal. Chandler explained that during fight week, it's not about comfort, it's about discipline, about getting through the hard stuff, about keeping that animal inside of you on a leash, just long enough to unleash it in the cage. He continued, only way you do fight week is to eat it, B-Y-H-A-N-D, okay? You're not sitting down, you're not dining, you're not making an experience. You get the food, you dip it, nice and cold, just came out of the refrigerator. Cold, a little bit hard, makes you feel alive. That cold, chewy steak isn't just food, it's a mental weapon, a reminder that this isn't about luxury, this is about survival. Chandler said, makes you feel like an animal, makes you feel like you're about to go inside that cage and RIP someone's face off. Cold steak, God bless, see you at the fight. Chandler's message resonated with fans because it's not just about nutrition, it's about mindset. He's showing how he gets into fight mode, how he strips away everything unnecessary and focuses on the fight ahead. It's the kind of gritty detail that shows what separates a seasoned veteran from the rest. So while some fighters look for comfort during a tough weight cut, Chandler goes the other way. He embraces the discomfort, leans into the pain, and uses it to fuel the fire inside. Cold steak, bare hands, cage mentality. Michael Chandler is built different. In other news, Conor McGregor is turning heads yet again, this time with a cryptic message surrounding the much anticipated fight between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett. Known for his masterful mind games and promotional genius, the Notorious posted a video of himself hitting pads, looking sharp, explosive, and dangerous. But what really set the internet on fire wasn't just the movement, it was the caption. McGregor wrote, "I am interested in the Chandler vs. Pimblett fight this weekend. I'm not interested in this one. Yeah, I know, but I'm just interested." And with that one word, interested, he set off a wave of speculation across the MMA world. Fans immediately began breaking it down. What exactly does he mean? Is he eyeing a future opponent in the winner of Chandler vs. Pimblett? Or is he simply trolling, stirring the pot the way only Conor can? It's important to remember, McGregor versus Chandler has long been teased by the UFC, with both fighters coaching opposite each other on The Ultimate Fighter. That bout, however, has yet to materialize. Some fans believe McGregor's mention of Pimblett might suggest a pivot. After all, Paddy is younger, undefeated in the UFC, and has a massive UK fan base. From a promotional standpoint, a Conor versus Paddy fight would be a blockbuster event, pure fireworks. But others think this is just classic McGregor theater, a little psychological warfare, a little marketing flair. By staying vague and mysterious, he keeps everyone guessing and keeps himself relevant without even stepping inside the cage. And let's not forget, this is vintage Conor. He's always found ways to control the narrative. Whether he's actively fighting or on the sidelines, he knows exactly when to drop a line that gets the MMA world talking. That single word, interested, is a perfect example of his strategic brilliance. It's just enough to suggest something bigger is brewing without giving anything away. Whether he intends to fight Chandler, Pimblett, or someone else entirely, one thing is crystal clear: Conor McGregor still moves the needle. When he speaks, the media reacts, fighters listen, and fans, millions of them, pay attention. So for now, the world waits. Will the Notorious make his long-awaited return soon? Will Chandler finally get his red panty night? Or could Pimblett shock the world and enter the McGregor sweepstakes? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, when Conor's interested, the whole world is watching. Meanwhile, on the other end of the UFC spectrum, rising prospect Gene Silva has issued a harsh warning to Bryce Mitchell ahead of their highly anticipated clash. Silva didn't mince words. He believes that this fight could mark the end of Mitchell's UFC career. According to Silva, Bryce hasn't been the same since suffering that brutal knockout loss to Josh Emmett. He said, "It might have messed up his brain. He treats me like total, and after this fight this weekend, he may retire." Silva went on to break it down further. He fought Ilia Topuria, he beat Edson Barboza, Dan Ige. Everything was going good until that knockout, until he got knocked out by Josh Emmett. And I think that really messed up his brain and his emotions. Everything just kind of went wrong. You can tell he's not looking at this the same way he used to. It really messed him up. He added, "So here's how the fight goes. He's going to try to take me down. I'm going to defend. I'm going to throw some shots at his head. Might knock him out in the first or the second. We'll see, but maybe he'll need to retire after this because he's going to have some brain damage after this one." Silva also criticized Mitchell's behavior outside the octagon. "I never disrespected his skills. He's fought tough guys, but it upsets me how he acts as a public figure. He disrespects people, even children. He talks about God, but wears a t-shirt showing God holding guns. That's a contradiction. It's crazy." And finally, Silva had one last message. "We're not even fighting for a title, and look at the attention. Imagine the noise when I fight for the belt.